In an early entry in this blog, I talked about how to do scales, give some tips about how to do arpeggios. I would say two of the most common questions that people ask me when they first come, regardless of their age, education, background, and so on and so forth. I wanted to show a few lines from Mendelssohn Etude Opus 104, number 2. It's been popular in the last few months in my studio, and I wanted to maybe relate it again to when rotation and the in and out meet, and why do we need to pay attention to them. So when we start, I'll do it in the right hand alone. I talked earlier on that one of the main reasons for feeling insecure is the disconnection to the thumb. It's not always even and it doesn't feel secure, and showed that two of the main, I would say, ways to solve that is rotation, which brings also the forearm with it. And you notice that as I go back, I stop here because I'm going right back up until the third measure when I go to the F, and the arm has, if you're of the belief that the fingers, hands, and forearm are connected and are the main parts in playing, other parts, the torso moves along with it, then the form always has to be where the fingers are, so that there are no pulls and no stretches, and there's always full support and the ability also to control sound. So going beyond that, going to the third measure, when we are here, we're still out. There's no reason to be in the blocky area until we get to here, and suddenly we have to play the E flat. Now, if we don't prepare to get there, either we twist or we have to have a very large motion forward. Most people twist, and twisting causes a lot of problems in the wrist, in the forearm, into the elbow, and can cause injury, pain. So as we go up, we stay out, but starting here, I'm rotating and moving in. Again, this is the marriage of rotation and the in and out. Now, should I stay in? Here we go. My thumb has to go to a white key. So what I do, I move out so that I'm at the right place to play the F, and I'm not stuck in the white key area. So here we're moving gradually in, we're moving gradually out, staying out, staying out. Now, if we stay out here, again, suddenly we have to get to the E flat with the fifth finger. So immediately you see that you can make a rule here that when the thumb and the fifth finger have to play, the two short fingers have to play on the black keys, the longer finger, those three, have got to make it possible for us to move in and to move out, so it isn't a surprise. We don't twist, we don't have to disconnect, and we don't suddenly have very large motions which interfere with speed. So the fourth measure, already when I go to the thumb, I'm in. And I'm staying in because my thumb and my fifth finger are going to be in the blocky area. Sometimes people do things like that. There's too big a movement. There's tiny out, but very, very little. And I'm staying in, and as you see, the rotation, the walking hand and arm get me across without having to stretch. So here, there are situations when we can't perfectly connect. We almost connect. So we have the motions of connection, and at the last moment we let go a little bit. Here I'm still connecting, coming a little bit out to bring the thumb into the white key area, and here the third finger is a long finger, and very often people, you know, when they're coming out, they curl the finger to come out, which creates tension. The whole hand begins to tense up, so we have to move a little bit out. When you connect it here, you can move in any which direction and leave the fingers to do what they have to do, which is to lift and to drop. And here also it's a big distance, so there is almost a connection, but all the motions that we do when we connect, we still have here as well. So it can go fast. And it feels almost connected and very secure. Same here. It's almost, but all the motions, all the rotation is there. And again, here we go into the black key area. So the rotation is moving together with the in and out and staying there. You probably would see another motion, these are not the only two ones, which is also shaping, which we do from the forearm. Gets a little bit higher here, and we have this. That little under with the forearm and the hand moving together in the slight under and over, but nothing like this, and nothing from the upper arm either. Gets me right to the right place. Here's the shaping, moving in and out, rotating. Even though you're coming out, you're not coming lower here. That's the shape of arpeggios. Getting a little bit higher to make it possible to make room for the thumb as it crosses. So one of the things that you learn in this work is that Dorothy Tauman developed, is what is the role of each movement. What are the movements? Why? How do they work, and how do they combine together to make a whole? I wanted to make a few other points of interest in something like that. One is that we tend to, when the long fingers are on the black keys, to fall on the thumb. When the thumb falls out, it tightens. I'll show it in the left hand, like that. It's a short finger, and when we play toward the body, it feels short and it feels tight. There are problems that will develop from that. So even though we are behind and we come a little bit down to it, it still plays forward. And another point is, what does the thumb do as we go to cross? We should not put the thumb behind, because when we do that, it's tight. It goes to the extreme range of its motion, and it makes it difficult for the other fingers to move. However, it doesn't stay where it was either. So when we come from the thumb, let's say from the thumb to the second finger, the thumb goes right behind the third, and as we cross and rotate, it goes to the left in order to come back to the right and give us the single rotation. So the thumb moves along behind the playing fingers, so that we don't have to make a huge movement to bring it there. So everything is done in order to move in such an efficient way that the motions are very small and you get there quickly. Also, what is the role of the torso in all of that? Obviously, if I sit here and the arm goes by itself, it's going to get very tired immediately. The upper arm can't just hang by itself. So the torso moves along in very small amount to accommodate the movement of the fingers, hand, and forearm. And when we go together, the torso is in between and moves a little bit. What we want to make sure that we're not over one hand more than the other, because then the other hand feels orphaned. So just enough, always just enough. Normally when the body moves, the torso moves the right amount, it looks as if it's not moving because it's so little, but it does. What else is of interest? The fact that when we have rests or we have long notes, movements still continue. So when we go over and there is suddenly a rest, we feel the relationship, the riding of the key. We just have to come up to the surface to, to hear the rest. And anyway, the pedal is there, so we don't hear a lot of rest. But there is a continuation also of the movements, of the shaping. So it's not like we stop and we start all the way from the beginning. It doesn't work well physically and it doesn't sound well musically. There is a continuation even when we have silences. And one other question that comes up here, starting on the third measure, a beautiful melody starts, and the beautiful melody is shared by the two hands. So what do we do? The whole question, how do we play fast, first of all, and can get a nice sound? And that has been always a mystery, but it really isn't. When we all connected and we understand that the source of sound doesn't come from the finger alone. The finger is very light, and to get any sound, it has to push. So people get into trouble technically, and the sound is not so wonderful either. When we begin to sense the connection and the fact that the forearm has more weight than the finger, so it can aid the finger in coming down, aiming to the point of sound, landing on the bottom without any more effort, and really feeling how the more comes from not a relaxation, but a release, a sense of a let go without anything relaxing here. It's not tense, it's just free. It's free of tension, and the forearm is free to come down and to time the key in such a way that it doesn't sound like that. It's a bit slower. So when we go, this is one aspect of it. So we can go very fast, it doesn't take long. I'm coming down the key anyway. I can come with a tiny bit more forearm and give it the sound that I want. So this is one of the answers, if not the answer, to how do we play fast and still sing. The other one is, how do we make the inner voice sound like a phrase when we constantly leaving it and sharing it with the other hand? Well, if there is the control of the sound and the understanding the role of shaping, both technically and musically, we know that if we play each note, even singing the same down, that it's not going to sound very phrased. However, if we add a little bit of shaping, immediately we see that those two elements create a singing phrase. Now, if we understand shaping, when we get shaping is when do we get a little bit higher and lower, which creates together those curved lines, the overshapes, the undershapes. We can also, then we can continue it and share it. We can share it between the two hands. And then a little bit higher. I know that there isn't much that one can see from that because tone production is invisible. It's at the moment that we play the key and you can't tell what the forearm is doing, but you can get educated about what is happening internally because it's a very, very definite feeling. And also the left hand, when you want to create a line, instead
is a tiny bit of shaping.
And even without pedaling, even when it's detached, we can create lines if we understand the relationship of the physical to the musical.